All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome. This is Twist Gaming, where you get to play board games with us. This is our first look section of our Spotlight stream, where we go over the game that we just played through, that someone just won, but we'll get into that in just a second. But tonight, we had the pleasure of going and playing Red Dragon in 6 Villains by Slugfest Games, so big shout out to them. Thank you very much. And we would like to point out that this stream and all of this week's streams are sponsored by Red Dragon in 6 Villains by Slugfest.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
But first, who are we? I'm Matt.
I'm Anne.
And I'm the green screening Nicole.
Hi, green screening Nicole. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic.
So in our first look section, we like to talk about what we enjoyed about the game. Then we go into any criticisms we had of the game, and we usually follow that up by how would we have done it differently if we had the opportunity. And then finally, we close it out with the big question. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, right?
Yeah.
How do we usually start this part? It's the person.
Are we live?
It's the person who won the game. So who is it? You or me?
Technically, it's everyone but me.
Yeah, it's everyone but you. So does that? Wait, let's rock paper. You won the rock paper scissors, so you've got more wins than I do this evening. So
You get to go first.
So Anne, go ahead. You can give your opinion on what you enjoyed about this game.
I think it's important that we issue the disclaimer that this is not a full in-depth review video. This is very much so a first look video. We set this up to where one of our players has read through the instructions, played a game a couple of times, has gotten pretty familiar with it. We have another player that may have played the game once, has a little bit more familiarity with it, and then me, who's never played the game before. And we do this intentionally so that you guys get to see just how easy the game is to pick up and play. You've got a little bit more insight into the game for somebody who's more familiar with it, and you have that nice range. That being said, this is just a first look video for us picking up the game, playing it once or twice, not a full in-depth review. I really like this game.
I could tell.
I really like this game. I typically don't play. My playstyle is not very offensive.
No,
Well,
it is
It's
very
offensive. It's offensive to both of us.
You don't
But
go on the offensive
I
in
don't
your
go
play
on
style.
the offensive in my play style. I'm not very aggressive. It was the way this game is set up is that you pick a character, and each of the characters have special abilities and fit certain play styles. Fair enough. So I was suggested to me to pick a character that is more of an aggressive character that you have to have a lot of money for to pay their minions, and I had a lot of fun playing with this character.
Torgal Snarf. What's the full name
I love
there?
the name.
Torgal Snarf Dunselton, first of his name.
He is not a Teletubby either. That's it's because he's green screen.
It
He's
looks
got
like
a nice.
got a six-pack with the green screen.
He's got
his belly roll isn't hanging out there.
He's kind of got a fupa.
He does.
But so you actually liked playing as this aggressive play style in this game.
I did.
Oh, is this the turning point for you?
No, I don't know. It could be. I might change.
She
up
was
how
awful.
I play.
Yeah.
She was aggressive.
She be aggressive.
It
Be
was.
aggressive.
It was different for me. It was very different for me. I like the emotions that I kind of had with this game because the game kind of keeps you on your toes. It's very much so anything can change in the matter of a turn game, and we played with the event deck.
So
whoa.
it's even more
Whoa.
randomness being added into the deck with
Yes.
every some few odd turns we're getting a random event that's either positive or negative affecting us. So it kind of threw another monkey wrench into people's strategy. So it's very much a gotcha take that style game that's affected with some even more randomness here. That is terrifying looking because it's green screening.
It's so rad. I really like, with deck games, what I like in cards are cute flavor text that makes sense, not stuff that's there just because.
Extraneously.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. And art. The art style is the same all the way through, that kind of cartoony art. I really enjoy the flavor text on a lot of the cards because it's a lot of fun. It's silly and fun.
So in this case, the flavor text for the most part is actually the name of the card. And so this is, I can pay, don't worry. Who's worried?
I'm not worried. You worried? I'm not worried. It's very sassy, and I absolutely love that. There was one part in the game. There's a side game in here where you do gambling.
Yeah.
Hi.
which gambling.
Yeah. She's a fan.
I like gambling.
I guess it's not really deck building. Like, you definitely had
I-
more of a deck building.
I had deck building in
in
mind.
yours. At the beginning of the turn, when you get your 7 cards, you have to decide whether you're discarding cards, deciding whether you want action cards, or if you need gambling cards, or if you want your sometimes cards. Like, there's a mix of kinds of cards.
Right.
And when you get a good hand to go gambling, it's a good time to gamble in that pot. If you have no gambling cards and somebody else gambles, you're kind of SOL.
Yeah.
We got the pot up to about 9 coins.
Mm-hmm.
And I really thought I was going to win it, and I could feel my heart racing from anxiety, and wham! Nicole came in and stole all the money.
Yeah, she did.
She got all the money.
You don't.
She
You don't gamble with a gambler.
See, I should have known better. I should have known better.
That
But
was a
I
fluke.
loved that turn of events.
It was a fluke.
So jumping in here, I really like how thematic all of the individual players' abilities are to the players.
Mm-hmm.
So Nicole was playing as the mummy, and her whole thing is she's giving people scarabs.
I love the mummy.
And it's based off of mummy rot, and it's just that they're such an ancient being that they're just ignoring actions because screw you, I don't want to do it, I'm the mummy. And then, no, you're going to take a scarab, and it's going to give you mummy rot, so at the end of your turn, you're going to lose a scarab and lose a fortitude. So it's just you getting slowly picked away, and honestly, that was the most problematic part of dealing with you with the boss battle. It was you were just stacking those on me, and like every turn, I'm losing a fortitude.
I was
It's like, I don't
looking
know
for
what
that
to do.
card where I just make you resolve them all at the
Four.
same
I know.
time.
But
my God.
so then with mine, I have, since I'm a vampire and I can shapeshift, I have different decks for like if I want to be a wolf vampire, if I want to be a bat vampire, or if I want to be the human vampire. And then I've got my boss monstrosity vampire deck, and each one's different. And I just love how adorable the wolf is with the vampire top hat
He
on.
is really cute.
I mean, the bat also has a little mini bat top hat. But then I also like the mechanism of gaining bleed tokens for playing certain cards, and then having to expend those to purchase those upgrade cards. And then there's even some more powerful cards like this one that force you to use bleed tokens in order to actually use the card. So it adds just an extra little strategic element with that character in there. And then Anne was playing the rich jerk goblin who's just, no, I'm going to hire people to do my work for me. And
Yeah.
pish posh, I'm not going to do it myself.
Thanks, everyone. We really
Aw,
appreciate it.
thanks, Sam. Sam.
Thank you,
Thank
Sam.
No, I like the once you realize how to play your character. I mean, you have kind of a guideline, a kind of a direction, and he's got his minions,
So you got minions, which is one of your special actions. That's green screening.
and they were really great to like. He was a minion too. They were really great to just kind of throw out there, hit 2 fortitudes. I can have a drink, but it's expensive to keep them. So
Your minions were annoying.
Yeah, they
they're
were.
so good.
So one thing I'd like to point out is we each had special setup rules with our 3 characters. The final remaining character in this game, the villains game, does not have any special setup rules. They just have a very unique card set that basically allow you to spy on the opponent's deck of cards and alter their play strategy based on that, and then kind of seed your deck so you get better cards coming up. So it's more of a deck manipulation character than a special
She'd
circumstance
have been
one.
interesting to play.
I can see that being interesting, but I think Anne and I would be cursed with analysis paralysis.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why we didn't play with it on the stream, because I felt like it would have been a little slower to show off.
I think that's a good
Josh and
call.
I did have a chance to play test this one last night while we were testing it out, and it is a very interesting character though. So I will give some props to that.
Do you think that they'll release a ghost soon
Ooh.
that I can play as because I'm invisible right now?
And then finally it's just getting into the actual game mechanics itself. This is the classic Red Dragon Inn where you're drinking in order to not pass out at the inn, and I like it's such a silly concept it's just nicely done that
It's
I really do enjoy it.
Really well done.
I think one thing that's really nice about the game too is that this seems like a simple enough game that I could play with my kids,
Yeah.
but it would still entertain a more avid gamer because it's got the kind of just the strategy that comes with the individual decks.
Now it's 13 plus, but your son is 9. Do you think David could handle this?
I don't know how he would feel about player elimination game. Maybe but there's the team style.
Yeah.
So I think maybe in the team mode, that would be good for him, and I think that he could keep up with it. Some of the cards are a little complicated, but if he was going with the team mode, and I was playing like if it was David and I against Aaron and Michael, I think that would And he just turned 9.
So one thing I'd like to point out also is that all the Red Dragon in-games synergize with each other, so you can mix and match
That's
characters
so cool.
and drinks, and I that's really awesome. Just because there's so dang many of them now too, that you can really
like-
have such a custom experience every time you play. I'd like to just point that out.
And it was
Unbelievably variable. Like there's probably a million ways to play this.
And it just increases the replayability of it, because once you get through a deck and you play it a couple of times, you know the cards that are going to come up in the deck and how to win. But yeah.
Okay.
So Sam is saying that it's 13 plus because of the drinking theme, not so much because of the complexity of the game.
I like that they put that thought
which
into
makes
it.
sense.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
So Nicole, how about you? What were some of the aspects of the game that spoke to you that you really enjoyed?
I really enjoyed this game, and I'm really not one for take that style games.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I play with Matt. For the first 2 years that I was gaming, my play group was Matt and Josh. What do you think?
Yeah, she wasn't exactly.
What
happy
do you
with
think that I would? No, I don't like. I don't. I've been. It's like Pavlov's dogs. I don't like
Yeah,
take that.
she's been trained to be.
I've been trained to not like take
beaten
that
dog.
game. I really like that you can discard as many cards as you want and redraw them. I thought that was a really awesome feature because there's just some that aren't useful against certain people.
And it doesn't seem like it's broken.
It
It
doesn't.
break the game that you can
Right.
do that, which I was kind of surprised with. Like, oh, I feel like it's like cherry picking a little. But
I really like the mechanic of having your alcohol and your fortitude meet in the middle and wherever they meet. I think that's a really cool way to kind of balance each other out where I can take more drinks as long as I don't get hit too many times. It's really not that big of a deal depending on where I am with the other
gem.
yeah, the other gem. Where the other gem is. Thank you. I didn't feel bored waiting for other people to do their turns, which is I mean, the turns I thought were a little on the longer side because there were quite a bit of things to do, but I still was very interested the entire time.
Now we did play a relatively small game with just 3 players. If you can play with a many player size, but that would take multiple copies or editions of the game in order to get there. So that would definitely slow it down. I have played in like an 8-person game before,
Really?
and it does make it a much longer game.
Okay.
But just this game itself is 2 to 4 players if we're playing with just number 6 here.
I think though that it's not so much the other person taking their turn that is that is what keeps you out of the game, because you have so many sometimes and anytime cards that can impact
Exactly.
any of the players that you must really be engaged when everybody's taking their turn, because at any time somebody can turn around and be like, you.
Or you have like a note card.
Yeah.
I'm invisible.
That was the best.
I'm actually.
I'm invisible. So another thing I'd like to point out though is Anne.
The quick reference guide was so good because if you have, I have attention deficit. I have attention. Done.
Speech impediment.
I have speech
You
impediment.
have ADD.
I have attention deficit disorder, and one of the things that comes along with attention deficit disorder is a impaired short-term memory, which means that if I'm playing games and you explain the rules to me once, I will forget everything that you have said in 5 seconds. I feel like ADD is really prevalent, especially in our community. So I love the fact that game publishers pay attention to things like making things simple, getting as much of the instructions as simply as they can in places that are easily accessible. It's so important.
Another prime example of that is on the back of the individual character cards here. They have the unique setup rules for each one of the characters, which is super duper handy, so you don't have to dig through the rule book to see what the setup is for each character, since 3 of the 4 characters in this game have unique setups.
Yeah, I mean, I know that it's a tall order to ask for as much instructions as simply as possible, as accessible as possible. But it's good for people. It's good for younger people. It's good for people who like me who have ADD. It's good for people who just like to be organized and know what's going on. And
And
then
it's-
you've got rules lawyers too who want to kvetch about, oh, you did it wrong.
And it's I feel like the way that the rules are laid out is really good for people like me, who I'm not like a really heavy gamer, and too much information really makes me shut down.
Yeah.
And it just feels very overwhelming. And this didn't feel that way. Actually, one of my complaints, we were playing Upside Down, so I didn't realize that there was a quick reference card. So ignore that.
So there's that.
There's that.
All right. So, are there any other points that you guys want to touch on about what you liked about the game?
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I could go again.
Yeah.
So, criticisms time. So, I know that we've really gushed about this game because it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun playing it. Any criticisms that you really want to speak about? And we try to keep things on the positive side here. We don't say, I hate this, it sucks. We say, well,
This is my play style, and it may or may not have matched with my play style.
And then another thing is we like to offer up opinions on how we would have done things differently if given the opportunity. One thing is, so I think that I have...
Pause.
Okay.
Reviewers in the community get a lot of criticism for paid reviews.
Yeah.
This is not a paid review.
It is.
It's
not a review.
It's not a review. It's not a review. Our stream is sponsored by Slugfest Games. We try to do our very best at being very honest and unbiased about our reviews, because while we really do appreciate Slugfest Games sponsoring us, we do not think that that should sway our opinion, because our duty is to our audience, and our duty is also to Slugfest Games. Slugfest is getting the opinion of 3 different kinds of players, and most game publishers do genuinely appreciate constructive criticism to incorporate into their games.
That being said, this is a live stream, and while we are performers, we're not actors. And if we didn't like it, you'd be able to tell.
Actors. Yeah, no, I'm not an actor. So I'm going to start us out here, and I think that one of my major criticisms that I've had with this game in the past, not this edition of Red Dragon Inn, is the player elimination. Just because especially in a large group, that 8-player game, I was the first person eliminated.
Really?
And I was sitting there, and I was not a happy camper. So I did check out.
Yeah.
But I think the team and the boss variants here that kind of allow you to... So in the boss variant, it's 1 versus many.
Right.
And the many is using 1 health tracker.
Right.
So... I mean, you can't have a player elimination there. The game is just ends.
Elimination, yeah.
Yeah, so I do appreciate that the game seems to have fixed the one major issue that I've taken in the past with this game. So I'm going to think a little bit more on anything that I didn't particularly care for, but I'm going to pass it over to you for now, just because I don't have anything off the top of my head that I can really say right now.
I have a petty comment to make.
Okay.
Because I'm petty like that.
Yeah, we know.
And Nicole, I want you to comment on my pettiness.
You're really petty.
It'd be really nice if these mats were neoprene.
You're so petty.
I
mean, it's like, how petty is she?
As a game publisher, what does it mean when when you're upgrading the components? I really think that this being, it is money. I really think that this being paper, it's paper components are really tough, because if I'm playing games, especially like Sam was saying, hey, this game is 13 and plus because it's a heavy drinking element. This is and this is not a very complex game. This is probably a gateway game that I'm bringing out for my parties, for my game party.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm waiting for somebody to eat something greasy and wipe their hands on it, and to spill their drinks all over it, or to tear the paper. And I like this quick reference guide and this tracker so much that it's something like the cards, you sleeve your cards, whatever. But I really think that the mat should have been with a little bit more heft and a little bit more durability.
So I understand where you're coming from. This is pretty thin. I don't know about neoprene. With how many cards and how many components are in this game, I can see that neoprene, I don't know the cost of neoprene, but I can imagine that could add up to $10 to the MSRP, depending on what their cost is. And I wouldn't blame them for not having neoprene. It would have been nice if it was
like the character card.
Yeah, like
card
the what's this, punch board?
Yeah.
That would have been nice. I didn't think about it until you mentioned it. And, you wouldn't be able to get a sleeve probably for this size because it's very custom sized. Yeah, I would have liked to. Now that you mentioned, I would have liked to see it like a punch board material, something a little thicker, a little sturdier. But you really have to balance out how much it's going to add to the cost. Like, I don't know the MSRP for this game, but there is a point where a game can be fantastic, and if you price it too high, 1 through 4 playmats are generic and heavy cardboard. I bust. Does that for you? Okay, so the versions 1 through 4.
Okay. Those would be the ones that you would bust out. But but with Red Dragons 1 through 4, I'm not going to have the same characters that I have in 6.
Right, but there's probably
They're generic playmats.
it doesn't really matter. It's just
okay.
They're all 20 to 0.
So yeah, by the time you get to 6, someone probably has at least a couple of the originals, and then it wouldn't be an issue, and that makes sense. And then they can focus on having the standalone expansions or the sequels as cheap as possible to make them accessible to everyone. And I can appreciate that for sure.
That was my one little petty complaint was simply this. I think the other components in the game are great. You've got the glass beads, which I know can get pricey.
Those are pricey.
Can get pricey. I think the coins are really great. They're the hard card stock. I think, the cards are regular standard size. Deck cards. I did notice that the
character cards.
character cards are a little bigger.
If you're still in chat, can you tell us what the MSRP for this game is?
So I did notice that. I kind of thought these were wood tokens at first. They're not. But I thought with the beige, I think the beige color and the heft of them made me just
really liked these.
Yeah, they're cute and they're custom and they're not all the same one.
Yeah,
so
it's a different design.
They took a little time to. There's a lot of attention in the art here. Good night, Sam.
Good night.
There's a lot of attention in the art here. There's a lot of attention in the various art. That's my one complaint. That's my one complaint. I would be curious to see a different way to incorporate the side game of the gambling in here. Now, I'm coming in at Edition 6, and I'm sure people who've done 1 through 5 have become accustomed to maybe the gambling game and how that's played.
Yeah.
But at the very end of the boss match that we played, I was stuck with a hand that was full of gambling cards. And I get that that's kind of the risk that you take when you get your cards, but I discarded a bunch of gambling cards just to pick them back up again.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I didn't have a handful of gambling cards, I would have been better prepared for that last minute head-to-head kind of thing. I would like an alternate rule set. I think it may exist, but I would like an alternate rule set for the gambling on the side. I feel like we avoided the gambling a lot.
We kind of did. I think it's more prevalent in larger player games, just because the gold can get really ridiculous there, and I think that would definitely change
the risk to reward value.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
All right, so is there anything else that y'all want to touch on?
No, I really did enjoy this game.
Time for the most important question of the evening, though.
She wasn't talking.
I didn't hear you.
It's like I'm trying to think of something like.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Kabam!
No, shot out of a cannon.
Go for it. What's the most important question of the evening?
I don't remember now. No, the most important question of the evening is: would you play this game? Okay.
Okay, but you won, and you won. So let's ask the only loser here. Because normally I get very bitter and very salty and flip the table. I don't want to play anymore.
But
I would play this game again. I would play this game right now if it wasn't so late. I really enjoyed it. I look forward to getting 1 through 5 and all the expansions because I want to see what kind of variables there are for it.
Yeah.
I super enjoyed this game.
So, Anne, that was a hard yes from you.
That was a hard yes. I think that this is one of my new favorite games.
Agreed.
Fantastic, and that's definitely a yes for me as well. So 3 yeses across the board. So. Guys, check out Red Dragon Inn 6 Villains by Slugfest Games. And thank you all for joining us this evening. This is going to be Twist Gaming signing off from another fantastic Spotlight presentation. And we would like to point out again that this stream and all of this week's streams are sponsored by Slugfest Games with Red Dragon Inn 6 Villains. Thank you all for joining us. I'm Matt.
I'm Ann.
And I'm Nicole.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.